Can you believe the interesting history of the former WWE superstar turned politician Kane? As we all know, there have been several former athletes and celebrities that go into different careers. Most do this for extra money to leverage their fame or even to grow their brand even more. One big example of this is former wrestler Kane, aka Glenn Jacobs. Let's take a look at the long and interesting career of Glenn Jacobs. Jacobs was born in Spain, part of a United States Air Force family. He would grow up around Bowling Green, Missouri, where he would be an athlete. Due to his size, he would dominate sports like basketball and football. Due to this amazing skill in the sports, Glenn Jacobs was able to attend Northeast Missouri State University, aka Truman State University, where he would study English literature. Jacobs played extremely well at both sports while attending Truman State, which is a D2 sport. He is second all-time for shooting percentage in basketball. Due to his size and great abilities in sports, he would look to utilize his skills further. This made Glenn Jacobs turn to wrestling as a potential new career after college. In 1992, Jacobs would make his official debut under the ring name Angus King in the Central States Wrestling Association. By December 1992, he would be performing in the United States Wrestling Association and would be billed as the Christmas Creature. Interestingly enough, the costume would be made by Jacobs' mom and would feature candy cane stripes with Christmas decorations. In the USWA, he would face off against Jerry the King Lawler for the heavyweight championship. He would then leave the USWA for the WCW, where he would make an appearance as Bruiser Mastino, where he faced off against Sting on WCW Saturday Night. He would spend some time in the International Championship Alliance. However, he would spend most of 1993 training. He would then have his first ever match in the WWF in October 1993. He would wrestle under his actual name, Glenn Jacobs, at WWF Superstars. He would then spend a short time in Japan wrestling, eventually coming back to the US in 1994 under the name Doomsday. However, by mid-1994, he would relocate to wrestle in the World Wrestling Council in Puerto Rico. By the end of 1994, he would be wrestling in Germany in the Catch Wrestling Association. In 1995, he would come back to the U.S. once again to wrestle in the SMW, where he teamed with Al Snow under the name The Dynamic Duo, where they held the tag team titles for a period of time. During his time with the Smoky Mountain Wrestling League is where he would have his first interaction with The Undertaker, who made a special appearance in the promotion. On February 20th, 1995, Glenn Jacobs would make his official debut during a taping of Raw as Mike Unabomb. He made his first TV appearance on June 26, 1995 as Isaac Yankem, DDS. This was his first major character for the WWF. They would bill him as a giant and a protector of Jerry the King Lawler. He would go face-to-face with Bret Hart several times to protect Lawler, including a match at SummerSlam where he would be disqualified for hanging Hart by his neck in the ropes. He would participate in several more major events throughout the year, including Survivor Series, culminating with the 1996 Royal Rumble. The Isaac Yankem DDS would be retired at the beginning of 1996 in a shocking turn of events in September 1996 after losing both Kevin Nash, aka Diesel, and Scott Hall, aka Razor Raymond, to WCW. The WWF would try to bring the characters back. This was because Nash and Hall could not be billed as those individuals for WCW. This was at the height of the WCW and WWF feud. When WCW was beginning to get the advantage, WWF wanted to still utilize these characters and introduce them back with Glenn Jacobs as Diesel and Rick Bogner as Razor Raymond. This would be a huge failure among both fans and within the WWF community. Many believed it was insulting to try to reintroduce those characters. By April 1997, they would retire the bill of Diesel. Jacobs would leave the WWF briefly, returning to the United States Wrestling Association as Doomsday, where he would win the heavyweight championship. By mid-1997, Glenn Jacobs would come back to the WWF and begin his biggest and most well-known character, Kane. The character began to be built by the WWF as a horror and devilish-themed beast. The character was built to be half-brother of The Undertaker, who was believed to be killed during their youth, which occurred from a fire caused by The Undertaker, would make Kane the fire monster of death he became. The storyline developed further with the help of a growing feud between The Undertaker and his former manager, Paul Bearer. Paul Bearer would try to reunite with The Undertaker after he won the WWF Championship. After being rejected again, Bearer would introduce Kane to The Undertaker and to the world. On October 5th, 1997, in Bad Blood, In Your House, Kane would make his official wrestling debut. He would appear in a red and black suit with a mask without the ability to speak. Over the next year, Kane would feud with The Undertaker throughout the 97 and 98 season. The feud between the two and the character development would help grow the popularity of the WWF. The Undertaker would defeat Kane at WrestleMania 14 on June 1st of 1998. He would finally defeat The Undertaker and have his opportunity to take on Stone Cold for the WWF Championship at First Blood, which would lead him to his first ever WWF Championship. From 1998 to 2001, Kane and The Undertaker would form the Brothers of Destruction. This came after Kane lost the tag team titles with Mankind. During this time period, it would build the brand of Kane and The Undertaker. As the years went on, Kane the character would develop further, gaining more of a personality. He would eventually speak with his real voice, and in 2003, Kane would finally be unmasked, essentially bringing Glenn Jacobs' career full circle. He would still be known as Kane, but he would take on the no-mask look. His career would bounce back and forth in popularity as he was unmasked. However, on December 12, 2011, they would remask Kane. They called it Kane Resurrected, flashing it across the screen with a burning red mask. This would bring new popularity for the character when he would pair up with Daniel Bryan, creating Team Hell No. Paired with Daniel Bryan and with Kane's new personality, they were able to develop the tag team further. They would be able to infuse humor within the characters, and they were able to develop the brand over 2 years. From 2013 to 2020, Kane would continue to make appearances with the Authority and would reunite with his tag teams of the past like Big Show. On April 1st, 2021, it was Kane who would be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. During the end of Kane's WWE career, he began to become interested in politics. Glenn Jacobs had begun getting involved in politics in 2008, specifically in the Libertarian Party. He would be recruited several times to run for office. However, he would decide not to until 2016, when he would seriously consider it. Jacobs said based on the 2016 election results, it would help him decide which direction he would go. Jacobs would run for mayor of Knox County in 2018 as a Republican. He would defeat Democratic opponent Linda Haney with 66% of the vote. Glenn Jacobs would go on to take on some very strong Republican views while in office. He would go on Fox News against the impeachment of Donald Trump in 2019. He would also be the only member of the Knox County Board of Health to vote against a mask mandate for buildings. Jacobs would then seek re-election in 2022, which would lead to a closer election he would win with 55% of the vote. Many have said Jacobs could eventually follow in the footsteps of another former wrestler, Jesse the Body Ventura, another wrestler who would go on to a political career, eventually becoming the governor of Minnesota. Many say due to Jacobs' popularity in Tennessee and his celebrity, he could push this career further. He may have the opportunity to gain a seat as a governor, Senate, or House member. On top of that, Jacobs has also had a career outside of wrestling and politics. He and his wife own an all-state agency in Knoxville. Over the years, the couple built a very strong business and have been able to leverage his celebrity. Did you know about the history of Glenn Jacobs, aka Kane? Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and follow. Believable truths!